Dear friends, in this video, we are going to discuss the important spotters questions which are asked from neuroanatomy region. Okay, so please listen. In practicals, in anatomy practicals, compared to discussion topics in spotters, you can easily score marks, full marks. Okay, so please try to focus on the upcoming session. Okay. So I want you to know in Spartans exam, okay, usually two questions will be asked. First question will be always identify the probed area or identify the pinned structure, identify the tied structure. Like that, the first question will be identification of the particular part of the specimen. And second question will be related to the identification. Okay, so for example, if you see this specimen, okay, the questions usually asked will be identify the probed area, mention the content of the probed area. Okay, so what is the answer for this question? Yes, the probed area is median longitudinal fissure of cerebrum, right, between the two cerebral hemispheres. Do you see the gap? That is nothing but median long. These are the two cerebral hemispheres, right and left cerebral hemispheres. In between them, in the midline, we have the longitudinal gap called as median longitudinal fissure of cerebrum. Okay, that is the identification. Okay, and the sub question will be usually what is the content of the probed area? The answer is yes, Fox cerebri, isn't it? Fox cerebri, which is a large sickle-shaped fold of dura mater. Fine. Okay. Let's move to the next question. So the question is for this slide, for this specimen, the question is identify the pinned structure, and the sub question may be mention the nuclei of the pinned structure or mention the arterial supply of the pinned structure, otherwise mention the applied aspects of the pinned structure. Okay, so you can see the brain is kept upside down in this diagram, isn't it? So what is the pinned structure? Yes, that is the cerebellum, isn't it? Cerebellum has been pinned. Otherwise, you can write as cerebellar hemisphere. Cerebellar hemisphere. Okay. Coming to the sub question, the sub question may be mention the nuclei of the pinned structure. You know, in each cerebellar hemisphere, we have 4 nuclei. Okay, and from lateral to medial, this arrangement of the 4 nuclei will be from lateral to medial. We have the dentate nucleus, emboliform nucleus, globose nucleus, and fastigial nucleus. Okay, DEGF, dentate nucleus, then emboliform nucleus, then globose nucleus, then we have fastigial nucleus. Remember, this arrangement is from lateral to medial. That is important. Fine. And I told you the sub question may be otherwise blood supply or arterial supply of cerebellum. I hope you will be knowing, isn't it? What are the 3 arteries supplying the cerebellum? Yes, superior cerebellar artery, superior cerebellar artery, then AICA. Okay, AICA. Don't write in the exam as AICA, PICA and all. You have to write in full form. Okay, anterior inferior cerebellar artery. Okay? And what is PICA? Posterior inferior cerebellar artery. Anterior inferior cerebellar artery, posterior inferior cerebellar artery. Okay, so these are the 3 arteries supplying the cerebellum. Fine. Now coming to the applied, the sub-question may be applied aspects of the pinned structure. So try to remember any four applied aspects of the pinned structure, that is cerebellum. Okay, one is dysarthria, then dys dysarthria, then dysdiadochokinesia. Okay, dysarthria, dysdiadochokinesia, then dysmetria. Fine. Then we have intentional tremors. Intentional tremors. Then there will be hypotonia, decreased muscle tone. Okay, there are some 8 to 10 applied aspects given in your textbooks. Any four you can remember. Fine. Let's move to the next question. Okay, so identify the pinned structure, mention the content of the pinned structure. That will be the usual question. Okay, remember, see here, see the diagram. This is the pons. The part of the brain or brain stem I am marking is pons. Okay, so do you see one depression located in the midline of the pons? Any idea? Yes, this is the basilar groove of pons. Okay, the pinned area is basilar groove of pons. Okay, and the sub-question is usually identify the, okay, sorry, the sub-question is usually mention the content of the pinned structure. The answer is basilar artery. In this diagram, do you see a part of one artery? Only a part of the artery you are able to see. This is nothing but actually basilar artery. Okay, so the content of the basilar groove is basilar artery. Fine. Let's move to the next question. Identify the pinned area, how it is formed or how it is produced. That is the question. What is the answer? See here, this is the medulla, isn't it? So just below the pons, this is pons, right? Below the pons, we have the medulla. Okay, you know the brain is kept upside down in these images, isn't it? So just below the pons, we have the medulla. In the medulla, this is the anterior median fissure of the medulla. And on either side of the anterior median fissure of the medulla, I am something marking as P. What is that? That is the pinned area actually. Yes, that is the pyramid of medulla. So the pinned area in this diagram is pyramid of medulla or medulla oblongata, whatever. And any idea how these elevations called as pyramids are produced? Yes, they are produced or they are formed by the underlying what? Pyramidal fibers. Underlying pyramidal fibers. What is the another name for the pyramidal tract? Yes, corticospinal tract or corticospinal fibers. Okay, so pyramids are elevations produced by the underlying pyramidal fibers or corticospinal fibers. Fine. And one more additional information I want you to know. Okay, see in the lower part of medulla, this is the lower part of the medulla where we have the pyramidal decussation. Okay, so pyramidal decussation, that means approximately 80%, 80% of corticospinal fibers cross the midline at the lower part of medulla. Lower part of medulla. Okay, that is called as, the crossing is called as pyramidal decussation. Okay, fine. Let's move to the next question. See, in this diagram also, only in this diagram also, the medulla, yeah, particular part of the medulla only marked. Okay, this is medulla. So this is pyramids, you know, isn't it? Lateral to the pyramids, some area has been labeled here. What is this area marked here? I am marking as O. Anybody? So the answer for the question, identify the pinned area. The answer is yes. Those oval shaped elevations are called as olives. Olives. So the answer is olive of medulla. Okay. Just lateral to the pyramids, we have the olives or olive of medulla. Again, the sub question will be how the pinned area is produced or formed. Okay. So olive is an elevation produced by the underlying what? Inferior olivary nucleus. Okay. Olive is an elevation produced by the underlying inferior olivary nucleus. Got it? And what is the location of olive? Olive is present. What is the location of olive? Olive is present in the upper part of medulla, only in the upper part of medulla. Olive is present only in the upper part of medulla. Fine. Okay. Let's move to the next question. Okay. So, any idea about the pinned area in this diagram? This area has been pinned, isn't it? This is the area pinned in the diagram, isn't it? Here it is pinned. Okay. So the answer for this question, identify the pinned area. The answer is interpeduncular fossa. Interpeduncular. Okay, IPF, interpeduncular fossa. Fine. Actually, that is a rhomboid shaped space or rhomboid shaped depression at the base of the brain called as interpeduncular fossa. Okay. The subquestion may be boundaries. Mention the boundaries of the pinned area. Fine. Otherwise, the subquestion may be contents or clinical importance of the pinned area. Okay. So just now I have told you interpeduncular fossa is a rhomboid shaped space located at the base of the brain. Okay. Actually, this is a important short notes also. So take care. So what are the boundaries of the interpeduncular fossa? In this diagram, this is anterior, this is posterior, isn't it? So see here, the interpeduncular fossa is bounded anteriorly by the optic chiasma and optic tract. Okay, remember, anteriorly bounded by optic chiasma and optic chiasma continues posteriorly as optic tract. OT is optic tract. Fine. Then posteriorly, the interpeduncular fossa is bounded by, this entire structure is pons, isn't it? So this is the posterior boundary of the interpeduncular fossa. So posterior is bounded by pons, upper border of pons. Fine. Then coming to the lateral boundaries, laterally the interpeduncular fossa is bounded by, okay, in this diagram, you may not be able to see clearly. Anyway, remember, laterally the interpeduncular fossa is bounded by cerebral, okay, not cerebellar, it is cerebral peduncles, okay. If you want to say specifically, it is crus cerebri, CRUS, crus cerebri, which is a part of cerebral peduncles. Okay, that's why this region is called as interpeduncular fossa because it is bounded between the two cerebral peduncles, crus cerebri of cerebral peduncles. I hope you are clear about the three boundaries of the interpeduncular fossa. Fine. Let's move to the another possible sub-question. What are the contents of the pinned area? So what are the various contents of the interpeduncular fossa? Anybody? Yes, totally we have 5 contents. Okay, that can be remembered by the mnemonic. I took MP3. Okay, So all these 5 letters are representing the 5 contents of the interpeduncular fossa. So what is I representing? Yes, it is infundibulum. Infundibulum, otherwise called as pituitary stalk, which connects the pituitary gland with the tuber cinereum. Fine. So infundibulum. Then what is T? T is representing the tuber cinereum. Then what is M? Yes, a pair of elevations, a pair of elevations called as mammillary bodies. Mammillary bodies. Fine. Then what is P representing? Yes, posterior perforated substance. You will be able to see numerous small openings called as posterior perforated substance. That areas are pierced by the branches of posterior cerebral artery. Posterior cerebral artery, PCA. Fine. Then coming to the one more content of the interpeduncular fossa, what is 3? 3 is representing the third cranial nerve. Which is the third cranial nerve? Yes, oculomotor nerve. Oculomotor nerve. Okay. So these are the 5 contents of the interpeduncular fossa. Fine. Infundibulum, tuber cinereum, mammillary bodies, posterior perforated substance, and the third cranial nerve, that is oculomotor nerve. Then coming to the importance, if the question is asking what is the importance of the pinned area, what is the importance of interpeduncular fossa? You know there is one arterial anastomosis formed around the interpeduncular fossa at the base of the brain called as, exactly, it is circle of Willis. Okay, circle of Willis is formed, which is an arterial anastomosis. Circle of Willis is formed at the base of the brain around the what? Interpeduncular fossa. Fine. Let's move to the next question. Okay. Identify the probed area, mention its 3 parts, or mention the content of the probed area. Okay. Yes, you are seeing the superolateral surface of the cerebrum. Okay. That is, you will be knowing, isn't it? This is the superolateral surface of cerebrum or cerebral hemisphere, isn't it? So what is the sulcus you are seeing here? This is the anterior, this is the posterior in this diagram. Okay, superior, inferior. So this is the exactly the probed area is stem, STEM, stem of lateral sulcus. Stem of lateral sulcus. Okay, and the sub question may be, what are the 3 parts of the pinned area? Anybody? The stem of lateral sulcus, actually it will be dividing into 3 rami. Okay, the 3 parts, otherwise you can say the 3 rami of the lateral sulcus are: number 1, anterior horizontal. Okay, anterior horizontal ramus. Then anterior ascending ramus, and another one is posterior ramus. These are the 3 rami. Rami means branches. Okay, anterior horizontal, anterior ascending, and posterior ramus of lateral sulcus. And this is the largest. Which one? Posterior ramus is the largest, as well as it is the main continuation of the lateral sulcus. Got it? Fine. So the stem of lateral sulcus divides into 3 parts or 3 rami: anterior horizontal, anterior ascending, and posterior ramus. Posterior ramus is the largest and the main continuation. And some textbooks will be simply mentioning, instead of anterior horizontal, they will be mentioning as horizontal ramus. Instead of mentioning as anterior ascending, they will be simply mentioning as ascending ramus. Okay. So whatever given in your textbooks, you can follow. Okay. Yes. Now coming to the another possible sub question, what is the content of the content or contents of the pinned probed area? Okay, any idea? Yes, this lateral sulcus contains the middle cerebral vessels. Middle cerebral vessels, that means middle cerebral artery and veins, artery as well as middle cerebral veins. Okay, and one more content you can consider, you can include is, this is the main content, that is middle cerebral vessels, artery and veins, and one more content is insula. Insula. Okay, insula is a hidden or submerged portion of the cerebral cortex, where it is hidden or submerged inside the stem of lateral sulcus. Okay, fine. So these are the contents of the lateral sulcus, stem of lateral sulcus. Okay, middle cerebral vessels and insula. Remember, insula is the hidden or submerged portion of cerebral cortex. It is hidden where or submerged where? Inside the lateral sulcus. Fine. Okay, so that's the end of the session. Thank you all. Thank you all.